Your body hears before your mind understands. Right now, your cells are emitting light, biophotons pulsing from your DNA, creating an electromagnetic signature that's in constant conversation with the campo quantico. This isn't poetry. It's measurable physics happening inside you every second. And today, you're not just going to learn about it, you're going to feel it, shift it, and use it. Here's what most people miss about awakening. It's not a distant spiritual achievement. It's not reserved for monks or mystics. The final stage isn't transcendence, it's integration. It's the moment you stop seeking the field and realize you are the field. Your émotion isn't a reaction, it's a frequency. Your respiration isn't just air, it's the fastest recalibration tool you own. And coherencia? It's not something you hope for. It's something you can activate in under 2 minutes and watch reality respond the same day. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to retune your estado de ser in 90 seconds. Shift from chaos to coherencia using your heart and breath, and recognize the synchronicities that prove your field is working. No loose theories, no abstract concepts, just practical steps that make becoming the field your default way of living. Let's begin. Think of your body as an antenna, constantly scanning, receiving, transmitting. Your emotion isn't just a feeling, it's the frequency you're tuned into, the station that's playing through every cell. When you're stuck in fear, you're broadcasting static, pulling in distorted signals from reality. When you shift into gratitude or love, you're suddenly tuned to clarity, and life starts reflecting that coherence back to you. This isn't mysticism, it's physics wearing skin. Scientists who study biophotons discovered something remarkable. Your cells emit light. Not metaphorical light, but actual photons, tiny pulses of electromagnetic energy radiating from your DNA. When you're at peace, aligned, breathing consciously, that light becomes organized. It moves in harmony, creating what researchers call coherence. But when fear grips you, when stress tightens your chest and your mind races, those photons scatter into chaos. Your body's inner illumination fractures, and with it, your ability to resonate with higher possibilities collapses. Here's where it gets fascinating. Your heart isn't just a pump. It's the metronomo of your entire system, generating an electromagnetic field 60 times stronger than your brain's. When your heart enters coherence, a state you can reach through simple breathwork and intentional emotion, your brain waves literally synchronize with it. Suddenly, your prefrontal cortex lights up, decision-making sharpens, and your nervous system exits survival mode. The corazón leads, the cerebro follows, and your whole campo electromagnetico reorganizes around that new baseline. The law of resonancia doesn't care about your intentions. It responds to your state of being. Opportunities don't knock on the door of hope. They gravitate toward stability, toward nervous systems that aren't screaming alarm. Fear calls in more chaos because it's vibrating at the frequency of danger. But when you shift, when you anchor into presenza even for 3 minutes, the field around you recalibrates. He'd been living proof of this. One morning, overwhelmed by deadlines and drowning in anxiety, he stopped, placed his hand on his chest, and did 6 slow breaths focused entirely on gratitude. 3 minutes. That afternoon, an impossible email landed in his inbox, an opportunity he'd given up on weeks ago, now reopening with better terms. Your body isn't separate from the campo quantico. It's wired into it, transmitting and receiving every second. You're not waiting for manifestación to happen to you. You're creating the asignatura electromagnetica that magnetizes what matches. This isn't about positive thinking or pretending everything's fine. It's about recognizing that your cells are antennas, your emotions are broadcasts, and coherence is the signal that reality actually listens to. And what's coming next? A truth about resonancia that'll show you exactly how fear and opportunity operate on opposite frequencies, and how a 10-second body scan can shift everything. Picture an elevator inside your chest, a frequency elevator. Fear keeps you stuck on the ground floor where the air is thick, the walls close in, and every option feels like a trap. But courage isn't a giant leap, it's a microescola, One tiny decision at a time that shifts you up one floor, then another. Each time you choose presenza over panic, each time you pause instead of react, you're pressing a button that lifts your vibraso. And here's the secret. The higher floors have different doors. Opportunities that were invisible from the basement suddenly appear, because you're now resonating at the frequency where they exist. Try this micro test right now before your next decision, big or small. Close your eyes for 10 seconds and scan your body. Does your chest relax or contract when you think about saying yes? Does your stomach open or tighten? Your body is a receptor more honest than your mind. It doesn't lie, doesn't rationalize. Contraction is fear trying to protect you from imagined danger. Expansion is alignment whispering. This way. Follow the relaxamento, the softness, the subtle opening in your field. That's your internal GPS, and it's transmitting from a place beyond logic. Michael, a friend who'd been chasing a business partnership for months, learned this the hard way. He was about to say yes to a deal that made sense on paper, but every time he visualized signing, his throat constricted, his breathing shallowed. He paused, did 3 conscious breaths, scanned his corpo, pure contraction. So he said no, even though it felt risky, even though his mind screamed he was being irrational. That no wasn't rejection, it was alineamiento. Within a week, another opportunity surfaced, one that felt like expansion from the first conversation, and it became the foundation of his most successful project to date. Your nervous system doesn't speak in words. It speaks in sensations, in the language of abertura and closing, warmth and ice. When you're in meadow, your campo electromagnetico tightens, pulling in experiences that match that contraction. More stress, more chaos, more proof that the world isn't safe. But when you shift into even a sliver of confianza, when you choose gratidão or presence for 60 seconds, your field expands. And expansion is magnetic to fluxo, to timing, to the synchronicities that feel like life is finally working with you, not against you. Here's the frase ancora to anchor into your cells. Ressoar primero, recibir depois. You don't chase the opportunity. You become the frecuencia that it's already looking for. Your state of ser isn't a consequence of what happens. It's the cause. Fear broadcasts one signal. Courage broadcasts another. And the campo quantico, always listening, always mirroring, responds with ruthless precision. Now, what if I told you there are practices, simple, repeatable, 2 to 3 minute rituals that can shift your entire baseline, recalibrate your body's inner coherencia, and make this elevated state your new normal? That's exactly where we're heading next. Here's the truth most people miss. Your body doesn't respond to what you think. It responds to what you practice. You can't think your way into coherencia. You have to breathe your way there. Start with this. Slow your respiración down to 4 to 6 breaths per minute. Place one hand on your corazón, close your eyes, and feel warmth gathering there, like you're turning on a gentle heat lamp inside your chest. 2 to 3 minutes of this rhythm, steady, intentional, focused, and your heart rate variability shifts. Your nervous system gets the message. We're safe. We can expand now. After those breaths, here's where the real transformación happens. 60 to 90 seconds of total silencio. No mantra, no visualization, no agenda. Just pause. Let your corpo lead. Let the quietude settle like dust after a storm. This isn't meditation in the traditional sense, it's integración. Your cells are reorganizing the información you just transmitted through breath and foco. Your DNA is responding, biophotons are aligning, and your campo electromagnetico is recalibrating to a new frecuencia. Don't rush this silence. It's where the magic rewires you. But here's the practice most people avoid because it feels too raw. Honestidade emocional. Before you can shift your estado de ser, you have to name what's actually there. I'm anxious. I'm sad. I'm afraid this won't work. Naming the emoción doesn't amplify it. It disarms the tensión trapped in your tissues. When you acknowledge what you feel without judgment, you give your nervous system permission to release the contraction, to move the energy through instead of storing it as memoria in your muscles, your gut, your heart. Feeling is the pathway to integration, and integration is how cura happens. Now ground yourself in the present. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. Listen to the sounds around you. Traffic, birds, the hum of a refrigerator. This is presenza sensorial, and it's the antenna that tunes you back into now, pulling you out of the loop of past trauma and future worry. Your body can't be anxious and fully present at the same time. They're incompatible frequencies. When you anchor into sensory realidad, you collapse the spiral of chaos and return to the field of potential. She'd been there, the woman who spent years chasing clarity through books and seminars, only to find it on a random Tuesday in her car. Overwhelmed, late for a meeting, she pulled over and cried for 2 minutes. Not polite tears, but the kind that shake your ribcage. When she stopped, something shifted. Her intuition, which had been silent for months, returned like a map unfolding in her chest. Within hours, decisions that had paralyzed her became obvious, and a phone call she'd been avoiding led to the breakthrough she'd been praying for. Her corpo had been holding the answer the whole time. She just needed to let it speak. And now? You're about to discover what happens inside your cells, your brain waves, and your entire campo when you make these practices non-negotiable. The physiological shifts are undeniable, and they'll show you why this isn't theory. It's biology responding to consciousness. When you practice coherencia consistently, your corpo doesn't just feel better, it reorganizes at the cellular level. Clareza becomes your default, not an occasional visitor. Sleep deepens, dreams become more vivid, and you wake up actually rested instead of dragging yourself through the morning fog. Your digestion stabilizes because your nervous system finally exits the chronic stress loop that was shutting down non-essential functions. And your immunidade? It strengthens because when your body's not burning energy on fake emergencies, it can finally invest in repair, in regeneration, in the deep cura that happens when you're no longer running from invisible threats. Your mente shifts too, dramatically. The mental ruido that used to hijack your attention, that endless commentary and worry, starts to quiet. Foco sharpens like a lens coming into resolution, and suddenly you're not scattered across 100 half-formed thoughts. You're here, fully present, with access to timing that feels almost supernatural. You start knowing when to speak, when to wait, when to move. It's not that you're predicting the future. You're simply resonating at the frecuencia where intuition flows freely, where your cerebro waves sync with the campo de corazón and give you access to information your thinking mind could never calculate. And then the field responds. Synchronicities stop being rare and start becoming your new normal. The text message that arrives exactly when you were thinking of that person. The random conversation that contains the exact answer you needed. The coincidence that's so perfectly timed it makes you laugh out loud. These aren't accidents. They're your asignatura electromagnetica becoming coherent enough to interact with the campo quantico in real time. You're no longer broadcasting static. You're transmitting a clear signal, and reality is mirroring that clarity back to you through events, people, opportunities. Think of it like Wi-Fi emotional. Your emoção is the password you're typing in every moment. When you're in coherencia, gratidão, amor, presença, the password is correct, and you get full access to the network of infinite potential. But when ansiedad takes over, when medo tightens your field, it's like typing the wrong password over and over. The connection drops. The fluxo stops, not because the network disappeared, but because your vibração is no longer aligned with the frequency of entrada. Shift the emotion and the access restores instantly. He'd experienced this firsthand. 3 undeniable coincidences within 24 hours after committing to a short daily pratica. First, a book recommendation from a stranger that answered a question he'd been sitting with for weeks. Then, an unexpected refund check in the mail he'd completely forgotten about, arriving the same day he needed it. Finally, a job opportunity forwarded by someone he hadn't spoken to in years, perfectly aligned with where he wanted to go next. One day. 3 mirrors. The campo had been listening the whole time. He'd just finally become a clear enough receptor to receive the transmissão. But here's what most people don't realize. This coherencia isn't just personal. It's contagious. It ripples outward. And it has the power to shift entire rooms, relationships, and systems. That's the territory we're stepping into next. Walk into a room carrying coherencia and watch what happens. The noise doesn't just lower, it organizes itself around your presenza. Conversations that were scattered suddenly find focus. People who were agitated begin to breathe deeper without knowing why. This isn't about dominance or charisma. It's about resonancia. Your campo electromagnetico, when stable and coherent, acts like a tuning fork for everyone within range. Their nervous systems feel the vibration of calm, of centeredness, and they unconsciously begin to match it. You're not imposing. You're offering a frecuencia, and bodies naturally synchronize with estados that feel safer than chaos. In relationships, this shift is transformative. You stop being reactive, stop needing to defend or explain every trigger. Instead, you listen, really listen, not to respond, but to understand. When you're rooted in corazón-cerebro alineamiento, conflicts that used to spiral for days resolve in minutes because you're not adding fuel to the fire of contração. You're holding space for expansão, for honestidad emotional, for the other person to feel safe enough to drop their armor. And that safety? It's magnetic. People don't just respect it, they crave it because coherent presence is rare, and it reminds them of who they could become. Michael experienced this in a way that surprised even him. He walked into a tense business meeting, voices raised, egos clashing, the kind of energy that usually sent his heart racing. But that morning, he'd done his prática, slow respiração, gratidão, 60 seconds of silencio. So instead of matching the room's intensity, he sat down, breathed consciously, and spoke slowly, deliberately, from a place of calm. He didn't argue, didn't defend, he just held his baseline. Within minutes, the tone shifted. Voices softened. One person leaned back in their chair. Another admitted uncertainty instead of doubling down. The entire campo had reorganized around the one stable frequency in the room, and decisions that had been locked in battle suddenly became collaborative. This is how you lead without imposing, how you influence without manipulation. You don't need to convince anyone of anything when your asignatura electromagnetica is clear. Your coherencia becomes the permission slip for others to drop into theirs. You're not preaching presenza, you're embodying it, and embodiment speaks louder than any words ever could. The nervo vago, that wandering nerve connecting heart, gut, and brain, picks up on these cues instantaneously, and people feel it before they think it. Your energia isn't contained within the boundaries of your skin. It extends, transmits, touches everything within reach. And when you show up coherent, centered, aligned, you're not just changing your own realidad, you're offering a new possibility to everyone you encounter. You become the espejo that reflects back what's possible when someone chooses amor over medo, when they choose abertura over defense. And this is just the beginning, because what you practice once becomes a choice. What you practice daily becomes your identity. And that repetition, that's where true evolução lives. Let me show you how sustained states become your new structure. Your corpo is a recording device. Every state you enter, every emoção you sustain, carves a neural pathway, writes itself into your cellulas, becomes part of your biological memoria. Repetição isn't just practice, it's programming. What you repeat consistently doesn't stay as something you do. It becomes who you are. When you return to coherencia daily, even for 5 minutes, you're not just calming your nervous system. You're rewriting your baseline, teaching your DNA that this elevated frecuencia is the new normal, not the exception. Despertar isn't a mountaintop moment that strikes you once and changes everything forever. It's not a single peak experience that you chase for years. It's the sustained abertura, the willingness to return to presenza 1% more each day. It's choosing gratidão when frustration is easier. It's pausing to breathe when your chest tightens. It's naming the meadow instead of numbing it. This is evolution in real time, not transcendence that lifts you out of life, but integração that roots you deeper into it. Awake, aware, alive. Here's the rotina minima that shifts everything. 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, 5 to 10 at night. Slow respiration focused on the corazón. Honestidad emocional about what you're carrying. 60 seconds of silencio to let your campo recalibrate. That's it. No hour-long meditación. No retreat in the mountains. Just 2 brief moments where you consciously choose coherencia over chaos, alineamiento over autopilot. Do this for 30 days, and your entire asignatura electromagnetica rewrites itself. Your body stops waiting for permission to feel safe. It starts living from that lugar as home. She lived it. 30 days of this simple pratica. No skipping, no excuses. The first week felt mechanical, like she was going through motions. The second week, her sleep improved. By the third, her intuition started speaking again. Clear, unmistakable. But the real shift came in week 4, when she caught herself in a moment that used to trigger complete reactivity. Someone criticized her work, and instead of the familiar contrasso, the spiral of defense and self-doubt, she felt space. A pause. A choice. The woman who used to react had become the woman who could choose. I am not someone who reacts anymore, she realized. I am someone who responds. That shift in autoimaging wasn't affirmation. It was evidence, earned through repetition. Your evolution isn't about becoming someone new. It's about consolidating the elevated estado de ser until it's no longer effort, it's structure. Every time you choose presenza, you're building a stronger transmission tower. Every time you return to amor instead of miedo, you're reinforcing the circuitry of coherencia. And the campo quantico doesn't care about your past, your mistakes, your old identity. It only responds to the signal you're broadcasting right now, today, this breath. So what happens when you finally stop becoming the field and realize you already are it? That's where everything converges, and that's exactly what we're about to unpack. So here's the real question. Will you actually do it? Will you take 90 seconds right now, 6 slow breaths into your corazón, name what you're really feeling, then choose gratidão or amor for 60 seconds, and see what shifts? Or will you let this be another video you watched, nodded along to, and forgot by tomorrow? Because your corpo is listening, your DNA is responding, your campo electromagnetico is reorganizing based on what you practice, not what you know. This isn't information to collect, it's a decision to make. Will you stay in the frequency of waiting, or will you become the field that calls in what you've been asking for? Test it. Retune before your next conversation, your next decision, first thing tomorrow morning. Watch what shows up. Notice the synchronicities. Feel the shift in your chest when coherencia becomes your baseline. If this video found you, it wasn't random. Reality is bending toward you right now, and what comes next will show you exactly how deep this goes. Hit like if you felt this in your body, subscribe to keep learning how to live as the field, and turn on notifications. Because the next video, if this found you, quantum reality is about to bend, reveals the 3 signs you're already operating from this level and how to stay there all day. Don't miss it.